Who's that? Commander Claw. Who's bad? Commander Claw.
Welcome to Breaking Brews. I am Commander Claw. If you're new to the channel, welcome. This is probably a commander you found on the Foundation set, and I do recommend this commander for beginners. I'm not saying that you're bad or anything. I'm just saying this is a very easy commander to learn the game with, and I think is actually I can provide you a little bit more depth and insight to the commander, so you can get past that little beginner phase and take it to like maybe even mid level. I think this commander is pretty easy and quick to play. I think the biggest thing for new Magic beginners is when you're building a deck and you get done finishing the deck and you go to Friday game nights and you've already play tested it by yourself, but when it's time to actually play, your deck does nothing. We don't want that to happen. I think the new MTG Foundation set has purposely made commanders, lots of commanders at low CMC, meaning 2 and maybe even 3 mana costs, so you can actively cast them as the game begins. So once the game begins, you start doing all of its activated abilities and effects as quickly as possible so you feel like you're playing the game. And I think Aphelia does this very well. So without further ado, let me enlarge the screen so you can check out what she does. She's only 2 mana, just like I mentioned. Was it 1 and a black? Let's go. She is a legendary Gorgon assassin wizard. Already right there, we got some tribal. Assassin is very tribal friendly. Gorgon, there's not that many. She's on a 1/3 body, meaning that she can block pretty well, but she has Death Touch. Death Touch is a very intimidating type of keyword here. You know why? Because when you swing to attack, players are like, I don't want to block with something stronger and lose my creature. That's what usually happens in their mind. But she does something even more than that. Let's go. She says, whenever Aphelia attacks, you may pay 2, a Golgari, which is black and green, and 1. If you do, create a 1/1 black snake creature token with Death Touch. Ooh, okay. She also says tap 4 and a black until end of turn. Whenever one or more Gorgons and or snakes you control deal combat damage to a player, that player loses half their life rounded up. So this is so yeah. My biggest thing right here is I want to get to my attack phase with a snake or a Gorgon and activate this ability so you lose half your life. So you can go wide with a bunch of snakes, and that one snake that goes through, you tap 5 mana, and that opponent loses half their life. Yeah, that can be pretty gross. Also, like, I mean, I am concerned when I first read this. How can I get through with combat damage? A 1/1 snake is not intimidating. Okay, yeah, you can give your snake trample, but a 1/1 with trample is not intimidating. Okay, you can give +4/+4, some kind of power boost. 4/4 with trample, that's intimidating. But that's not always going to win. So I got a couple cards to help you deck build and reconsider. Because we need to just break down this commander and actually win the game. You know what I mean? Okay, so this card right here is very famous for any deck that needs a creature type, any creature type. So when you see this in deck lists, players are using it for its every creature type ability. Let me explain. We have Changeling Outcast for 1 black on a 1/1 body, Shapeshifter. It has the Changeling ability. This card is every creature type. So right now it's a snake, it's a Gorgon, it's a bird, it's a human soldier, it's an assassin, it's a rogue, it's a demon, it's all that. Also, it says Changeling Outcast can't block and can't be blocked. So literally, this is a 1/1 unblockable and 1/1 that can't be blocked. It's just going to deal damage and it's going to hurt your opponents. So this counts as a Gorgon or a Wizard. So when you go swing with Changeling Outcast during your combat phase, you can tap 5 mana knowing your opponents cannot block this. They will need to use some kind of removal to eliminate Changeling Outcast. That is very good. The reason why I say that's very good, for you to put out a 1 CMC creature and a player is forced to use a removal such as Swords of Plowshare, Path to Exile, some kind of terror. For 1 black mana, you win. That, like, the cost doesn't even make sense. They don't want to lose half their life because you played a one CMC spell. and tap 5. That's a total of like 6 mana there. That's pretty powerful. So be proud when you put this in your deck and an opponent board wipes this or exiles it or destroys it, that you won that battle. That's how good this card is. Sometimes you got to look at cards differently. I spent 2 minutes talking about this Changeling Outcast. That's how deep the game is. Let's go. All right, so let's think of a scenario where we got a bunch of snakes on the battlefield, right? We're going in our combat phase, or even Gorgons. We got to get through your opponent's blockers. And this card, Cover of Darkness, is the answer. Actually, second best answer. For 2 mana, it's an enchantment. It says, as Cover of Darkness enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. We're going to choose snakes. We're going to choose wizards, or Gorgons, excuse me. Snakes or Gorgons. Creatures of the chosen type have fear, which means they can't be blocked except by artifact creatures and or black creatures. So if your opponent is not playing uh, artifact creatures such as the Blightsteel Colossus or some kind of like artifact creature that taps for mana, I don't know, it can't be blocked. Unless they have a black creature, okay. Now remember, multicolored creatures that are like black and something else still count as black creatures. This is a good card, but I really have the best card that's even better than this. It's an old school card. Spend the $5 to buy this card. I promise you, it will make your deck. And the first time you play with this card, your opponents will learn a very, very bad lesson. Dolphy's Embrace is the card. There's actually a creature, legendary creature called Dolphy himself. Look it up. Pretty cool story. Dolphy Embrace is a 3 CMC enchantment, 2 and a black. It says tap 2 black mana. Target creature gains shadow until end of turn. If you don't know what shadow is, it's a very old keyword. So this creature can block or only be blocked by creatures with shadow. So that means your little snakes, your snakes or gorgons can only be blocked by creatures with shadows. There's only a few, maybe there's less than like 5 creatures out there in the world of Magic that have shadow. There's less than 5. And the odds of your opponents having a creature with shadow in their deck is very, 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 very low. Uh, what's really good about this card is you can tap 2 black mana and give your opponent's creature shadow. So this gives you gives you ability to make an unblockable creature for your opponent. So therefore, you can make a deal with your opponent and say, hey, if you attack player C, I'll give your creature shadow and your damage will go through. Ooh, players like that. This is the other thing I like to teach on my channel. Make sure you play politics sometimes. It can make a difference in the game. Okay, we got Caustic Bronco. It is literally a snake python on a horse's body. Grotesque. I would hate to see this in real life. Caustic Bronco for 2 mana. It's a 2/2 body creature snake horse mount. Whenever Caustic Bronco attacks, reveal the top card of your library and put it into your hand. That's good. That's like a dark tutelage. You lose life equals to that card's mana value if Caustic Bronco is not saddled. Isn't saddled. Okay. What does saddling mean? We'll get to that. Otherwise, each opponent loses that much life. Saddle 3. Okay, tap any number of other creatures you control with total power 3 or more. This mount becomes saddled until end of turn. Saddle only as a sorcery. So you need to tap at least 3 creatures, minimum of 3 creatures. Actually, maximum, I don't know. You need to tap 3 creatures, You need to tap creatures with up to 3 power. Okay, up to 3 power for this creature to be saddled. So you got to do this on your main phase. So when you go to attack with a saddled Caustic Bronco, you reveal the top card of your library and you put it into your hand. Then you lose life equals that card's mana value. No, actually you don't. Each opponent loses that much life. So that's what we're doing here. So let me break it down again. So you tap creatures with power 3 or greater to make this saddled. Okay, so when you go to your attack phase, you reveal the top card of your library, you put it into your hand, and each opponent loses that much life. Easy as that. If you don't do that, you lose life. So. I wanted to show you guys other Gorgons out there. This is actually one of my favorite commanders. It's better used as an engine, a card draw engine. And the reason why I like this as a card draw engine because the colors. Sultai. Sultai is blue, green, and black. When you got this color scheme, you can do so much with the graveyard, big creatures, uh, make them even bigger. It's a very fun color combination, honestly. But this gal, Damia, Sage of Stone, for 4 black, green, and a blue, is a legendary Gorgon wizard on a 4/4 body. She has Death Touch. We like that. She says skip your draw step. Scary at first. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have fewer than 7 cards in your hand, draw cards equal to the difference. So, what can you do with this? So automatically she's card replacement. Um, if you have 1 card in your hand, you draw 6 cards to get back to 7. That's really good. That like defeats the purpose of like your skip your draw step. You most of the time when you draw step, you only draw 1, right? But you get to go back to 7. So it encourages you to use all the cards in your hand, right? But what else it does is it outpaces your opponent's hand size. Each upkeep you can replace your hand. That could be 7, that could be 6, that could be 5, that could be 4 cards. You know what you could do with drawing that many cards? Double the card draw, play more spells, discard more spells. Oh, she's really a beast. So look into her. Let me know if you actually want me to do a deck tech on her. Put Gorgon Wizard in the comments below. Okay, so this looks like a very basic card, but do not underestimate its power. I promise you. For 3 mana, we got Sosuke's Summons. It's a sorcery. Put 2/1/1 green snake creature tokens into play. Basic. Cool. Okay. That means we can swing with our snakes and we can give them make an opponent lose half their life if they do damage. Cool. However, look at this as a token generator that's repeatable. It says, whenever a non-token snake comes into play under your control, you may return Sosuke summons from your graveyard to your hand. This is also good if you have an effect that says, oh, whenever a card leaves your graveyard, blah, 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 you get some kind of benefit. I'm thinking of that zombie Desperator. Whenever a card leaves your graveyard, create a 2/2 zombie. Bam. That would be good here. Okay. Stuff like that. Don't underestimate the power. Getting an additional trigger from anywhere can make the difference in a game. I really like this card for the cards you may have missed. You know why? Because it's an artifact that probably nobody's really thinking about. Nobody's thinking about. It's so versatile. It's called Mirage Mirror. I like to call it Garage Mirror because it actually kind of looks like the guys in the garage. Anyway, Garage Mirror for 3 mana. It's an artifact that says tap 2. Garage Mirror becomes a copy of target artifact, creature, enchantment, or land until end of turn. You know how powerful that is? Let's say if your opponent has the greatest hinge. I hate that artifact. Anyway, you get to copy it for pretty much 2 mana till end of turn, and you get all of its abilities. But I recommended this card because it can become a snake or a Gorgon at the right time. You see that? See that? See that? So if you have another snake on the battlefield or another Gorgon on the battlefield, tap 2, it becomes a Gorgon or a snake, and you go to your attack phase and swing at your opponent. Just an extra creature, but it's versatile. Remember, it becomes a copy of target artifact, creature, enchantment, or land. That's either on your side or your opponent's side. Thank you for watching another episode of Breaking Brews. This is Command Claw. This is the MTG Foundation set. Super cool. Think it's super beginner friendly. Aphelia is definitely this commander that I recommend if you're trying to teach your kids to get into the game. I do think you can actually get to be like, mid-level, power level. You can add some Voltron equipments to it and it just goes crazy. It just makes more snakes and more tokens, becomes powerful, whatever. It doesn't mean that she can't attack and hit a player for whatever damage and tap 5 mana and they lose half their life. That's always a possibility. And the other thing she does well is Actually, another teaching point I would like to say she does well is you do not always have to do tribal, meaning tribal creatures, you don't have to build that tribal deck. Sometimes we like to call my pod tribal is a trap. Later more in another video on that. Thank you for watching. Subscribe.